Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. I am excited for our guest today. Guys, make sure to rate, review, subscribe. This is Lea Woodford. Lea works in Arizona and Colorado, which is super cool. Snowbirding back and forth. Arizona's super hot in the summer, as you guys know. And CEO of SmartFem Media Group and luxury media brands, started in 2009, really got traction in 2011. Came from being a single mom and now building up a successful brand, which is super cool. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Angela.
Awesome. Well, let's get into things. Like I said, we did try to record, we're re-recording. So I know where to touch on some things already. So this is exciting. So tell the listeners a little bit about, your upbringing, how you got married, obviously had kids, and then it didn't go the way that you obviously wanted it to go, and how you just made it happen for your kids.
Well, I was raised in a military family. I'm from the South originally, Georgia. But we lived everywhere. Every 2.5 years, we had to move. And while I hated it as a kid, those skill sets actually served me well in life because I thrive on change. And that's something that most people aren't accustomed to. So I think it prepared me for being a single mom as well. So what I realized early on was this marriage wasn't going to work out, but my kids were not going to suffer as a result of that. So while I did work in corporate America, I always had a side hustle, and we had a nice house, nice cars. I'm a muscle car girl, so we had to have 2 cars, the kid mobile and muscle cars, because that's the one memory I have of my dad is turning wrenches at 7, and I've always loved cars, and I'm still into cars today. So it kind of prepared me for being a single mom, and I'm very goal oriented, but I knew that despite my education in communications, back then they started broadcasters, anchors out at 25,000. I couldn't support 3 kids on that. I mean, my daycare was more than my mortgage and my car payment. So rather than that, I got into sales, and I had a side hustle business. And then later on, I picked up where I left off when it came to the media.
Right. And you were touching a little bit, and I love this, before we had issues the first time, that you were helping your friends brand themselves for dating, which I'm like, I want to learn more about this. So tell us a little bit about that. How do we do this at our age?
It was just kind of a goofy thing. There was a matchmaker out here in Arizona, and she was really hurting women, making them feel bad about themselves. She told them they were old and too fat, and
oh my gosh.
Yeah, no,
that is not how you build a business, by the way, guys. If you're listening, do not do that.
Right. Well, she wanted to, there's a lot of wealthy men in Scottsdale, so she would they would hire her to put them with 20-year-old Twinkies, not a brain in their head, and just arm candy. And I just found that really offensive. And anyway, it got around that I was a marketing person, and I did it for one of my girlfriends who had tremendous success. Next thing I know, the Arizona Republic does a story on me, and then Channel 3, and then it becomes a whole business. I'm doing branding photos and online profiles, and then I have 4 dating columns, and I'm doing segments. But in the meantime, because I'm constantly on television and I'm everywhere, it's feeding my my business, my consulting business. So it was a fun wave, but a lot of drama. So there's always dating and dating drama. So I'm kind of glad to be done with that. But I was doing that from 2003 till about 2009. And then my daughter was a freshman at NAU, and one of my dating segments came on, and she was just horrified because she has been raised by a woman who, always worked, and she called me and it's like, oh my God, Mom, you got to stop this. You're perpetuating the man's the plan. And she said something to me. I mean, it's etched in my brain. And that is that, she is at NAU, and every girl in school has no idea what they want to do, but they can describe every single second of the wedding day, of their wedding day. And I thought that was really profound. And then there's shows like The Bachelor. And so I realized, my mission is not done. I made a promise to her that I would use my contacts and my influence to create something that would educate, empower, and inspire women. And that's when SmartFem was created. And we created shows. We had the mobile magazine for the women on the go. It's kind of evolved over time because marketing is a moving target. The minute you figure it out, things change. And then social media really came on strong, and it changed everything. So it's been an evolution. SmartFem Media Group is now the parent company of several brands.
Wow. Okay. So tell us, like, what are we doing with SmartFem, and where, you talked about the promise to your daughter, which is interesting to have her. That'd have been an interesting conversation to have your daughter call you out, basically.
Oh, she totally called me out, and kids are
You did a
really,
good job raising her. That's so cool. Like,
she's
it's amazing.
she's a smart, she is a smart, savvy woman. She got her education in special education, and she just said that it wasn't, me doing those dating segments made her feel that I wasn't being who she knew me to be as a mother, because I worked all the time. And it's so funny. This is a picture of us together about the time we had that conversation. This is her.
Cool.
I'm wearing my NAU parent shirt, but she
so
was
pretty.
just, yeah, she's my girl. And kids are honest. They're gonna call you out. And she's the reason I did it. And then my son goes, well, when are you going to create Smart Dude? And I just said, well, when I can educate women, and so they're, and they're able to be financially independent, then you're no longer going to be an ATM machine.
Right.
And he goes, okay, that's a good answer. And
that's so cool.
But yeah, I mean, my generation, women, especially in the South, we're meant to be married and have kids. And if you're going to have a career, it's going to be a nurse or a teacher, so I'm so happy to see that is going away, but it's still there, and I feel like, there's people in office that really want to put us back in the kitchen. So yeah, I just feel that women can do anything they want. And I'm here to really help them do that. My hope is that SmartFem continues long after I'm gone, and that the glass ceiling is gone for women in my lifetime.
Wow, that's so cool. So you've got into this. What are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome, in 2009 to 2000 now? What are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome? And especially, like you said, with coming from the Southern, I'm sure there was some family and stuff like that was like, I don't know what you're doing. A lot of negativity. How did you overcome that?
Boundaries, but in 2009, the biggest obstacle was I was diagnosed with a rare form of skin cancer, and it was on my face, and they had to take off the right side of my face and reconstruct it. So it was 11 months and 5 surgeries putting me back together again. And when you're on camera, that's not a good thing. So by the time I was healed, there was nothing to come back to. And so I really had to make SmartFem work, because I didn't have a face for a long time. So I created smartfem.com. It's still around. It's the mobile magazine on the go. I created that because I didn't have to be the face of it. In fact, I didn't want to be the face of it. So, God, we have years and years and years of content on just about everything about, you know, being a woman. It is the mobile magazine for the women on the go, but I created it in that time frame. Although my love is with print, it just, at that time the technology wasn't there and short run printing wasn't available. So I was one of the very first blog style magazines, and
Oh,
it's still there to this day.
awesome. And now where is SmartFem today? I know you were just doing an article with Ed and Andy, which was pretty cool. So tell us a little bit about like where it is today and where you see it going in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, you know, I had a lot of, like most people, COVID kind of put a monkey wrench into a lot of things. But I had just finished my Amazon Prime show. I was interviewing celebrities and influencers, and, you know, most of them had a side hustle or a passion. You know, I've talked to everybody from Alice Cooper, who has a nonprofit for teens, which is great. He creates teen centers. Erin Brockovich, you know, about her foundation, all kinds of celebrities. Jane Seymour, people don't know that she is a huge retail megastar. I talked to a lot of celebrities that had a side hustle, and it was a great show, but then COVID hit, and all of a sudden the independents were gone because Amazon got all kinds of free content from the major studios. So fortunately, I had just started Speaker Life magazine, and it was horrible. It was my first print magazine, attempt at print, I should say. And I spent about 5 months tweaking it and really understanding it, because I'd been a columnist, but I'd never been a publisher of a print magazine. And it's a completely different animal from blog style. So finally got that up and running. And it was, for me as a speaker, to get on stages, I had no idea it was going to create a whole new business for me. But it did. I create all kinds of magazines for, let me just show you what I've done. Like, here's Speaker Life. Our current issue has Robert Kiyosaki, and that kind of evolved into Speaker Life Summit. I've been doing those for about 7 years. And then this is an in-flight magazine for my husband's jet charter company. And I do Alice Cooper's magazine for his nonprofit. So I have lots of clients that do magazines as lead gens, but it also allows them to have conversations with other people. One of my clients, Dave Sanderson, just had Tony Robbins on the cover, and his next cover is going to have Amy Porterfield. So I love this because my clients are getting on stages, but they're getting big clients. You know, I have another client, Julie, who's landed JW Marriott, Bank of America. She's landing big clients leveraging magazines. And so when people say print's dead,
I was just going to say that. I've heard this print's dead, but apparently not.
No. As a matter of fact, there's only 7,500 magazines in the US, so it leaves a lot of room. And really what I did was I just sent magazines. I kind of went in through Emily and sent her a wow box with some magazines and told her that I wanted to feature Ed and Andy, and I got the interview. And that's how I get my celebrities. I did the same thing with Robert Kiyosaki. You know, not only did Robert come and speak at the summit, but now he's a client for my husband's jet charter company. I leverage the magazines to build relationships. I pick people that I just admire and then I want to get to know, and then the relationship happens. I'm not looking for anything other than to create a connection and see where it goes. I think that's where people make mistakes, is they go in thinking it's a sale. I go in thinking, you know, how can I create value? And I really admire this person. How can we connect on a deeper level?
That's good. What are some mistakes that you think people make in building a brand, and build, yeah, there we go, and building a brand?
I think for branding, I think most people do it cheap. They think they can go to Fiverr or something, and they don't really understand the science of branding. And that was myself included. I really had to learn. I ate some humble pie when I did my first magazine, because I really didn't understand the depth that you need to go to. And sadly, I had Jack Canfield, a celebrity, on the cover. Fortunately, I built a relationship, so but it was an embarrassing. I look at that now, it's just like, oh, you know. But not hiring people that are qualified, or listening to people who are unqualified.
And how do you know if someone's qualified or not qualified? What are some things that people should be looking for? Because I mean, obviously,
look at who they work with. That's the biggest thing. I want to see your work. You're going to tell me, let me see what you've done and who you work with. Testimonials are huge. I want social proof.
So when someone's starting out now into this world and doing something like you're doing, they obviously don't have they can't get necessarily the big brands right away necessarily. What are some things to get you to where you're at? Like, I know you've been in the industry now since 2009, so that's quite a while. So in those first 5 years, what were some things that got you to where you're at now?
You know what? I realized the power of leverage. Meaning it's not you wanting to sell something. It really is understanding who you are, who you serve, what problem you fix, and then creating a reason why people should work with you versus your competitor. I think too many people come in hot, and I know this has happened to you, Angela. They connect with you on LinkedIn, and then they come in hot. They're ready to sell, instead of having a conversation. I mean, I really want to know who I'm talking to. I may or may not want to work with you. I don't need to work with everybody. I don't want to work with everybody. I want to work with the people that I know are coachable, for instance. Not that I'm more of a consultant, but I can create an amazing magazine, but if you don't leverage it and use it, it's going to sit on a shelf or in your garage.
Right.
I like to work with people that are coachable, but I think it really is about understanding. Do you actually even have a product or service that people want? I think people want to sell what they want instead of finding out what the market wants and needs.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense. And then obviously, like you said before, you're a big reader. Have you always been that way? Did you start as a child, or what got you into like reading and personal growth and all of that? That in your life?
I started at a really young age. Books, I didn't have the happiest childhood, so books were my escape. And as a single mom, I couldn't go to conferences and stuff, so I read. And I can't even tell you how much it meant to me to interview Robert Kiyosaki, because his book got me into real estate investing at a really young age. So, and now I have a relationship with him. It kind of blows my mind a little bit, but Alice Cooper's a client, I mean, these are people that are really amazing business mentors to me. And, when I interview people, I learn something every single time. And as a journalist, I know the questions to ask. So it's just the way I operate. I'm inquisitive. I was a curious kid, and I'm a curious adult.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, if someone's listening and they're wanting to get into their own, building their own brand and stuff like that, but they don't have much of a budget, what are some tips for someone that you could, like some tangible tips, because that's what I'm always looking for, that someone could use, listening to this and go forward and start to create something, so then they could afford, good branders like you and like other people out there. But maybe at the beginning, they're just not there yet.
Well, I know that you always hear, do what you love. And I'm going to say, Yes, that's true. However, when it becomes your job, then it becomes a job. So make sure it's something that you really love, but figure out your why. For a long time, my kids were my why, and they're still my why. Even though they're grown and um, they have their own families, it's still my why. I mean, your why has to be bigger than your excuse,
Mm.
because there's always going to be a day where you don't want to do it. And you just have to have a really big why. And that's going to be what gets you through. And there's going to be days when you have ups and downs. I mean, you'll be in the zone, sales are easy, things are going great, and there's going to be times when your mindset is just not there. And I'm going to say, if you're going to fix anything, fix yourself first.
Mm.
And get your mindset right, because it didn't matter how beautiful your brand is. If your mindset isn't there,
Mm.
and your why is not there, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at anything. You got to go get those things right first.
Yeah, and that's free. So it just takes time and a lot of effort sometimes. That's so good. So guys, get your mindset right to be able to build a powerful brand. I love what you're doing. You talked about your mission to inspire women and start to create like something with that culture. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, this is new, and I'm really excited about it. I'm still trying to keep that promise to my daughter that I made in 2009. And one of my clients, Delane Blasek, and I are creating a company. It's Pink Prosperity Inc. We're about to launch it. And it is really, it's so many things. It's a community, but it's also an academy. What we found in working together is that most women really don't understand the 5 levels of entrepreneurism. Her and I have both built and sold companies, and most women, however, let's just say a lot of them are hobbyists that make a little bit of money, and they're not able to accurately forecast their income. And I'm a marketing and branding person, and Delane is all about sales and mindset. She's got her master's in psychology. So we created a curriculum for women to actually learn how to build a business, but also we call it the collective, because we're building our own community. And I'm really excited about it, because it's going to have its own magazine, its own subscription box. We're actually going to speak in Paris in March, so about Pink Prosperity. So I really love where it's going, and people and women are really loving the idea. It's so funny because we're both Georgia girls. Although she lives in Chicago, she saw me speak, and we talked. She became a magazine client and saw quickly, wow, these magazines are great. But we saw that there is a missing piece for women. There's networking groups, but there's not networking groups with real education.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I was speaking in 7 different states, and there's a large women's networking company, and I'm not going to mention the name, but I couldn't believe how many people were complaining, and it was the same complaint. It's all about the founder, and it's not about the members. And I just thought, wow, if people were talking about my business like that, I'd want to know. And these were directors, they had paid in, and they kept paying in, and they were always building somebody else's brand. Mm-hmm. And I love the way Tony Robbins says this: never put somebody else's brand above your own. And so we wanted to create Pink Prosperity as an academy and an umbrella for women to build their own brands and to learn the 5 levels of entrepreneurism, and how to get their headset, their mind space right, because there's just a lot of crap out there. We couldn't find it, so we created it, Angela.
I love it. Can't find it, make it. What are the 5 levels of entrepreneurship?
Well, there is the very first one is the foundational. And that's where you're not making any money. It's an idea. You're just kind of getting started. The second one is you acquired a few more skills and you're making money here and there. The third level is you've acquired a lot more skills and you're making some residual income. You can forecast your income. Level 4 is basically you've got a lot of skill sets, you've got a team in place, and you're making money. You still don't have the lifestyle that you want. You can't do everything, but you have a pretty good lifestyle. And level 5 is like a Robert Kiyosaki. You have all the money you want. You can do anything you want. And your team, no matter what happens, you're making money every day.
Cool. I like it. I think we're between, I don't know where we're at, 3 or 4, somewhere there. But I like the 5. Let's get there.
I know.
That's awesome.
I've never gotten above 4. But this is going to be our year to get to 5, my husband and I.
Good. I love it. Yes, it's so cool. So in wrapping up, I always have 3 final questions and then anything that we didn't touch on that you just think is really impactful for our listeners to hear. And guys, obviously make sure to check out Lea. I'll have all of her information in the show notes. So make sure to reach out, check out her stuff, check out her brands, Pink Prosperity, all that good stuff as she gets it going. But 3 final questions. First one is, if someone is looking for their purpose, what's one sentence you would say that could help them find it?
For finding your purpose, what if you were dying? If you're lying in a ditch somewhere, what do you want to be known for? Were you a good parent? Did you give back? What do you want on your tombstone? Good.
Number 2 question, and I'm sure you have more than one maybe, but what's your favorite quote and why?
I have so many. God, I think Dolly Parton. Find out who you are and do it on purpose.
I love Dolly Parton. That's so cool.
I do too. I'm a Southern.
Yeah. Last one, and this kind of wraps into your first answer actually, is what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
She made a difference.
Love it. So in wrapping up, like I said, you run into someone in the coffee shop, they're like, that was awesome. I'm going to work on reading, becoming real, like working on all the things we talked about. What's something we didn't touch on that you just think would be really impactful to leave our listeners with?
You know what? There is no such thing as self-made. That is a myth. And I want to dispel that right now. No one who's been successful has ever done it alone. Find a mentor.
Find a mentor. I love it. So true. Guys, make sure to share this. I know you will. Share, rate, review, reach out to Lea if you have any questions. I know she's super helpful and amazing, amazing person. Let's go out there, guys. Let's change the world one person or one starfish at a time. If we can change one life at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks so much for being on.